Am I in the right spot?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So good evening. I'm Council Member Lupe Bandin, and I'd like to welcome you, our friends and neighbors, to this Substance Abuse Prevention Education Neighborhood Meeting. The Substance Abuse Prevention Education Program, SAPE, SAPE, is based on 4 parts: communication, education, interventions, and enforcement. And this neighborhood meeting is all about communicating. Assisting me tonight will be our SAPE program management team, Pilar Sinawi, Nico Gasca, and Mario Sandoval. Thank you, management team, for being here. During tonight's meeting, we'll be discussing the impact of substance abuse to our state, our city services, our schools, and our neighborhoods. I'll be asking you, the members of the community, to share your concerns, experiences, observations, and frustrations regarding the unsafe and harmful use of substances in Tolleson. And the information that we gather tonight will help us prepare our education presentations, as well as our intervention and enforcement protocols for the future. Also, at the end of the meeting, all those attending will have a chance to win gift certificates in support of our local restaurants. So let's get started. We have a special guest this evening. Melissa Lee is a Phoenix native and has been a special agent for the Drug Enforcement Administration in Arizona for more than 22 years. Wow. Currently, she serves as the Demand Reduction Coordinator and Special Agent Recruiter for the DEA Phoenix Field Division. Welcome, Special Agent Lee.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have some questions for you. Our first question is, please tell us about the substances that are currently trending in Arizona.
Well, the #1 drug threat that we have in Arizona is methamphetamine. That's the, as far as quantity, what we seize the most for DEA statewide. However, the...
Oh, that's on. We're still going to be slow.
You lost. Quickly, you're on mute. Miss Lee is on mute.
Oh.
Thank you.
Sorry, I don't know when that changed.
Okay.
Did you hear any of what I just said?
Just a little bit. You want to start again? That'll be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize. The #1 drug threat that we have in Arizona is methamphetamine, because that's the largest quantity that we seize as far as an illicit drug. All of that is pretty much coming from through our southwest border from Mexico. About 90% of the drug supply that we have in the United States right now is sourced through the southwest border. However, with the deadly threat of fentanyl and counterfeit prescription-looking drugs like fake oxy, fake hydrocodone, that's our #1 threat, only not based on the quantity that's necessarily seized, but because of the overdose potentials with those substances. Being that they're both a synthetic drug, the quantity that can be produced in clandestine laboratories is almost limitless. It's very different than the marijuana crops that we used to, I mean, we still do obviously seize a lot of marijuana, but you know, there's a lot of manpower, production, harvesting. There's more limitations to that crop being produced than the precursor chemicals that are shipped from other countries into Mexico and manufactured there and then shipped into the United States. So methamphetamine is the #1 drug seized, but with the overdose potential with fentanyl related drugs, that really has been our priority recently.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the dangers of these synthetic opioids or prescription drugs? What is it exactly that happens to the drug when it's manufactured illegally?
Yeah, when it's manufactured illegally, in the precursor chemicals that go into manufacturing those substances come from other countries like China, India, Asia, and they're shipped into Mexico. And there are Superlabs that are manufacturing these substances. And when you think of a Superlab, it's not a laboratory that we think of, it's a it could be somebody's garage or backyard or wherever, but they have very rudimentary means of making these substances in 50-gallon containers, mixing, pouring in the fentanyl powder. It first comes as a powder, and they press them into pills using pill presses, and they look so much like the real pharmaceutical drugs that, as a trained agent going through numerous hours of drug identification, I cannot tell the difference between a illicit fake oxycodone tablet that's manufactured, outside of a legitimate pharmacy or drug manufacturer. So that's the threat, is that these drugs are out on the street and no one can tell the difference between a real one and a fake one, especially our youth. And when we have a signature analysis program, anytime we seize drugs, we send them to our laboratories for analysis. And we found that the lethal dose of fentanyl in a tablet is 2 milligrams. And of the, we seized over 5 million pills laced with fentanyl in Arizona just last year. Of those pills, 26% had a more than lethal dose in them. So that's 1 in every 4 pills that's out on the street has a lethal dose in it. And it's really like playing Russian roulette. You just don't know which pill is going to be a deadly pill, because they're not manufactured, the way we think that they're just mixed in a big gallon and pressed into pills, and there's no real checks and balance on how these pills are being made. We've seen even up to 5 milligrams per pill. So it's just very scary. So our seizure data for fentanyl last year, as I said, was over 5 million tablets just in Arizona. That's up from 5 years ago. We had never seized a single pill. So in just 5 years, just an astronomical rise in fentanyl production. And really that's because the profit margin is so huge for traffickers. The cartels make so much more money smuggling fentanyl and methamphetamine substances into our country than what we used to see as far as marijuana.
And can you tell us again where these substances are coming from and how they actually get into Arizona?
Sure. Any way you can think, they are smuggled across the southwest border through underground tunnels, vehicles equipped with trap compartments, drones, ultralights, just people backpacking them across the desert. We used to have, when we would come across human smuggling groups, Border Patrol would encounter, say 5 to 6 individuals carrying 40 to 50 pounds of wrapped bales of marijuana strapped to their back, crossing the hot desert with very little food and water. And now the cartels, they've replaced those drugs with the marijuana with fentanyl pills and methamphetamine. So like I said before, it's the profit margin is huge. Those are the changes that we've seen in the last few years.
Can you tell us about DEA's efforts regarding these substances?
Sure. Yeah, we have a few new. I mean, of course, enforcement is our main, to disrupt and dismantle drug trafficking organizations operating not just in Arizona but all across the world. So we are trying to target the top supplier in other countries and working with those governments to identify and dismantle those organizations. So that's where our main mission is. But we also have realized that without addressing the real issue is demand. And if we didn't have the demand, then we wouldn't have so many drugs coming into our country. So we're working with our counterparts who are really good at prevention. And we have a new program called Operation Engage, and it will travel to different parts of the state depending on the threat at the time. And right now we're looking at opioids as the #1 drug threat because of the number of lives that we're losing. And so we've recently launched that in Yavapai County, and we're really looking forward to the prevention efforts, especially targeting the youth and educating them on the dangers of these fake pills and how just one time can be it. So there's that program, and our national take back. We had one just recently in April, and we're going to have another one in October. DEA nationwide took back over 420 tons of unwanted, unused, old and expired prescription drugs. That's a lot if you really think about how much that is nationwide. In Arizona, we received over 16,000 pounds. So to think of, just trying to get prescription medication that we no longer need. If you're not sick any longer, the doctor's prescribed it to you and you no longer need it, the best way to dispose of it is not through the trash or flushing down the toilet, but to turn it in to either a local drop box. A lot of the local police departments have them in their lobby. So if not, our national take back twice a year. We set up all over the state and advertise those locations on our website, da.gov. And we'll gladly take back any unused prescription medication, just ultimately to get that off the street as well. So
great. This was such very interesting and timely information. And the City of Tolleson thanks you, Special Agent Lee, for all your service and for helping educate the public about the dangers of substance use. So I think you're going to stay with us in case we have some questions a little bit later.
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, no, I would love to. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Okay, so hang on there with us. Thank you so much, Agent Lee. So now I'd like to share a short video about the impact of the unsafe and harmful use of substances to our city services and our schools. So I'll see you on the other side.
At the Tolleson Police Department, we encounter individuals who use substances in unhealthy, risky, or harmful ways. These types of matters come to our attention in a variety of ways. It can be through a call for service or citizen's complaint. An officer may observe activity involving substance abuse while out on patrol or through on-view activity. It can also be brought to an officer's attention from people who are attempting an intervention with someone who uses substances, for instance, parents, family members, teachers, and friends. The Tolleson Police Department is proud to be a part of the Mayor and Council's Substance Abuse Prevention Education Program, and communication is vital to the success of the program.
At Tolleson Public Library, working with patrons in crisis is part of the service we provide. Connecting people with information and resources can prevent someone from ever trying drugs in the first place and can assist those already in distress. Everyone is welcome to participate in our educational and social programs. Library visitors can privately seek the information they need on their own by browsing library displays and community resource guides, or by requesting research assistance from our staff who will always protect our patrons' privacy. The Tolleson Public Library is proud to be a part of the Mayor and Council's Substance Abuse Prevention Education Program, and together we are confident we can make a difference.
At the Tolleson Fire Department, we respond every day to some type of substance abuse incident. These types of incidents range from overdoses of fentanyl to heroin to painkillers. These substances reduce the body's natural drive to breathe. We carry a drug called Narcan, which can immediately reduce the physiological impact of these legal and illegal substances, and we give it whenever we suspect an opioid overdose. Normally, we take the patient to the hospital and provide care while en route. Our care ends when we turn the patient over to the hospital staff. We need to find ways to prevent these incidents in the first place. The Tolleson Fire Department is proud to be a part of the Mayor and Council's Substance Abuse Prevention Education Program, and together we are confident we can make a difference.
At Porfirio H. Gonzalez, a particular way that our organization has come in contact with persons who use substances in unhealthy, risky, or harmful ways are when students have obtained and brought contraband on campus. In situations where a student has contraband, we respond by calling parties to the front office. Additionally, we follow up with families and law enforcement is notified. We then follow up with outside resources through community partners to offer support and counseling. Our organization follows up with families and students to see how we can support in the continuum of care. Porfirio H. Gonzalez and the Tolleson Elementary School District is proud to be a part of the Mayor and Council's Substance Abuse Prevention Education Program, and together we are confident we can make a difference.
At the Tolleson Union High School District, we receive many student referrals throughout the year from families, staff, and students. We also get self-referrals from students themselves who have made poor choices regarding substance use or abuse. Our approach to substance use and abuse is to deal with the situation at hand, first with respect to district policies of student conduct, and secondly, to provide campus one-to-one or group supports with district staff, but also provide referrals to agencies and off-campus support services. Our focus is to help change behaviors through education and developing coping and decision-making skills to help the student transition successfully back into the school environment. The Tolleson Union High School District is proud to be part of the Mayor and Council's Substance Abuse Prevention Education Program, and together we are confident that we will make a positive difference in the Tolleson community.
Together with these and other program partners, we ask you to join us in this journey in making a positive impact in our community, and together we can make a difference.
Wow. I want to thank our program partners, Tolleson City Services, Tolleson Union High School District, and P.H. Gonzalez Elementary for participating in our video. The importance of understanding the impact to our city services in our schools is important because we all need to know how these organizations are coping with the unsafe and harmful use of substances in real time. So at this time, I'd like to invite you, our neighbors and friends, to share your concerns, observations, any frustrations, or needs that you think things that we might need regarding the unsafe and harmful use of substances in Tolleson. We have Police Chief Rudy Mendoza and Fire Chief George Good with us tonight to listen to you and to help us answer your questions. Please use the chat feature to type in your questions or raise your hand or the little hand thing we have in there. And Pilar Sanawi so that Pilar Sanawi can call on you for your questions. Do we have any questions, Pilar?
Sorry, let me take a quick look. Sorry about that, Councilmember Bandin.
Thank you.
I sent you one in the chat, Councilmember. Do you have it?
I don't see it.
Here we have one that came in. Thank you for the question. So we see cars constantly coming and going from a house down the street at all hours of the night and day. It is suspicious. What should we do?
I think that's for our Chief Mendoza.
Yeah, so there could be a number of, or I guess a variety of reasons why this happens. So although it may look suspicious, it's not always a sign of criminal activity. So sometimes there are houses here in Tolleson where there's multifamilies living in the same house, and that can contribute to vehicles moving in. However, it does merit a response from the police department, and it is something that we should probably take a look at and kind of rule out any possibilities of criminal activity. So yes, if you do see something like this and you find that it's alarming to you, then you should definitely call the police department and make us aware of it.
Thank you, Chief. I have a question, Pilar.
Yes, Councilmember.
Okay. I have a question that came across. This is for Chief Mendoza. We're afraid to report suspicious activity. Will the cops tell our neighbors?
No. So anybody that wishes to remain anonymous, if they simply want to pass on information to us or make us aware of criminal activity, they can know that they can call us, give us the information, and if they wish to remain anonymous, we won't make it known who the caller is. Even if they wish to give us their information, it's not something that we would go to the neighbor and let them know unless the person is absolutely comfortable with us doing so.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilmember, we did have a participant, I believe Dora had her hand raised. I don't know, Dora,
okay.
If you would like to unmute yourself if you still wanted to ask your question or comment.
Oh, my wife and I are listening. The question was already asked as far as community outreach and how to go about, contacting the local police department about questions and so on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We did have also a question from one of the other participants is, how can I help a friend who has a problem with drugs, sources, places, or steps to take?
Well, that's one of the goals that we have that's a part of our substance abuse prevention education and our substance abuse intervention and enforcement programs going on. So one of our goals of this program is to bring together all the resources and places available for us to help our friends and neighbors that are suffering from substance use disorder. So we hope to have some kind of a guide that incorporates all the different possibilities. And that's what's so important about this meeting tonight. We're trying to reach out to the organizations and our city services and our schools. And we're trying to make sure that we can get this information together so that we can have some guide and a way for people to see what's available now. And we'll also be working as a city to make more parts of the program available in having to do with the interventions and the enforcement. So in the interventions, it's very important that we help with pathways to rehabilitation. And that's going to be something that we will do as a city. So right now, we do have some information, I believe, at the city library. I think Ms. Eckhoff mentioned that we have some guides there. Is there anyone else that has anything in particular? I know at the schools, they have some information too, if it's a person that's of school age.
Well, I think what we could do is we could share definitely some information and resources with the people in the group. We'll share some links in the chat. I did have a couple of things one question that came in for our fire chief is what kind of training does the fire department receive for substance abuse calls?
Thank you, Pilar. We receive ongoing training actually through continuing education, but through initial certification as paramedics also were trained to recognize opioid overdoses, for example. So we see things, some signs and symptoms are pinpoint pupils, depressed or decreased respiratory drive, and that's what the opioids will do. And that's how people die actually from fentanyl and heroin overdoses, is that they just prevent the body from breathing naturally. So the police department, it's very exciting. The police department as well as the fire department both carry a drug called Narcan, which I mentioned in the video earlier, but it immediately reverses the effects of the opioids, and then the people can start breathing again. So we do receive that training initially, and we receive ongoing training through our continuing education through the hospitals, which are required to maintain our certifications. So we have a number of different sources which allow us to stay up on the current trends, which the DEA agent Melissa Lee kind of referred to a lot of things that are going on right now. So we have to be current also. As she said, only 5 years ago, there was hardly any meth, and now it's just everywhere.
Thank you, Chief Good.
Thank you. We also had Cindy Mills. Ms. Mills is the principal from Porfirio H. Gonzalez. She did share in the chat that for younger students, we need to help get the word out to families about how they are packaging marijuana. It looks like candy, and it has shown itself in the schools, elementary and high school. So I don't know if anybody would like to, provide additional comments or information.
I would like to do that. Pre-pandemic, we were able to have a couple of presentations, particularly focused on opioids, vaping, and oils. And so we had one presentation for our city council and our teen council together. And then we were able to have a presentation at PH Gonzalez Elementary for our 7th and 8th graders and their parents. And during this presentation, sometimes the information can be a little bit graphic, but this presentation that we gave, actually, it tells the truth and shows that sometimes, it's tough to talk about and learn about what's really going on, having to do with the unsafe and unhealthy uses of substances. But during this one in particular, we did have a segment where the presenter showed the different ways that the substances are packaged or even transferred. And it was quite an eye-opener for the parents, because even they had pictures of the USBs that people use for their computer. And some of those were actually being used to transport substances. So we are making sure that when we do our presentations for the schools and the presentations that we are going to have for the communities, that we include all facets of the substances that are trending at the time, so that we're aware of what's happening real time. Thank you.
We did have another question, Councilmember Bandin, that came in for the police department. Chief Mendoza, what staff do we have at the police department to work on substance abuse calls?
So we're able to handle these calls in a variety of ways, and each call demands a different amount of resources. So sometimes if, for instance, like the question before where they have someone that is addicted, it's very common for us to get called to say, hey, we have a child, a brother, any kind of relative that's addicted that may not be involved in any criminal activity at the time. And so it may be a call where they're looking for resources, and we'll kind of lead them to those resources. But typically when there's some type of criminal activity, you'll see anything from a response from patrol to our community action team who specialize in narcotics cases. Sometimes you'll see our criminal investigations bureau get involved depending on the involvement in the case or everything that's going on, because some of these are pretty extensive and require a lot of follow-up. We also partner with the DPS crime lab they'll handle any evidence that we take in, drugs and fentanyl specifically, because Agent Lee was speaking about it, but something that was not covered is how dangerous it is for us to be handling it. It could be very dangerous, and nationwide there's been a number of officers that have through touching it have begin to have the onset of some problems breathing and actually getting knocked out. So we do have a number of staff that handles it. We also have a narcotics detection dog, our K9 Sam, and he is able to detect narcotics. So we have a variety of ways that we're able to respond to these calls.
Thank you, Chief Mendoza.
I think maybe if it's okay with you, Councilmember Bandin, maybe we just take one or two more questions and then we'll maybe move on to the raffles.
Okay, that'll be great.
So then another question that came in is, what if we have a person in our family or a neighbor that is struggling with using drugs and we find them on the floor or outside passed out? What should we do?
I could take that one, Pilar. Because we get those calls pretty regularly. So, but before we get the call, obviously someone has to call 911. So that's the obvious thing that we ask them to do, is to, when you see something like that, that's why we're here. That's why both the police department and the fire department are here. That's why we exist, is to respond in other people's emergencies. And we talked about trying to prevent them in the first place when possible, but sometimes that's just not the case. We're not able to. So the people that call will receive pre-arrival instructions from the dispatchers, either from the Tolleson Police Department dispatchers or the alarm room dispatchers for the fire department. And they will be instructed in terms of what they can do, making sure that a person's airway is open, for example, so that they don't suffocate. So there's some basic steps that they can take to kind of make things better before the police department and fire department get there. So it's pretty simple then. The main thing is just to call 911. And I would like to add also, we haven't really touched on it tonight, but the incidence of these events has increased dramatically during the pandemic while people were staying home. So we had a lot of people that were, the increase in depression and domestic violence and drug use and drug overdoses has skyrocketed during the pandemic. So it was really bad before, and the pandemic has really exacerbated the problem. And so it's worse than ever now. We as a community need to come together and see what we can do to mitigate this issue.
Thank you, Chief Good. Do we have one more question?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Bandin. I did want to share, thank you, everyone, putting comments in the chat. I hope I don't miss anyone, but I know that Mr. Tolleson also, made some great points regarding, the legalization of marijuana and how dispensaries are now operating, all these creative and I guess interesting ways to package, their marijuana. So, you know, that getting into the hands of kids and raising awareness on that and how important that is. So thank you for those comments. We did see Dr. Hightower had her hand raised. If you'd like to unmute and share or ask a question.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pilar, and thank you, Councilwoman Bandin, for your advocacy. I know you're not new to the advocacy, but it's very exciting to see the work that you're doing, and we're all in it together, for sure. My question is for Special Agent Lee, if she's still on the call. I know you have been working in this area for over 2 decades. From your perspective and in your opinion, what is it that we can do to curtail these situations? I'm extremely worried about the edibles because we're an elementary school district, so students or kids not knowing what's in these packages, and also vape pens, and more specifically vape pens that are laced with other substances that the kids really have no idea about.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen seizures in gummy bears and fentanyl in almost everything that we used to find marijuana in. Now they're putting fentanyl in. It's such a highly addictive substance. So it's a creative way for the cartels to, you know, make more people addicted to more substances. And the only way to really get the word out and educate is to educate people and our teachers. And we have a Operation Prevention program on DEA's website. It's a free resource for teachers. There is a youth prevention module for schools that can be downloaded, and it's age appropriate. So there are elementary level education programs there, and it leads you through the course curriculum. So that's downloadable. It's completely free. Operation Prevention. It's a science-based curriculum. And so that's a free resource for teachers in your school district.
Thank you so much for sharing. And one
Sure.
of our students joined the session, but we are lucky to have 2 per school as well. So it's great information. Thank you.
Councilmember Bandin, I'm sorry to jump in, but hopefully we could take in one more comment. I believe she's been waiting for a moment too.
Yes.
Ms. Mills, the principal.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah, so my apologies to jump in.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here. Councilwoman Bandin, we just wanted to say that we would really love to have the speaker back at PH Gonzalez to host that. I know that last time we had our eyes wide open and were surprised, and the impact was powerful. And even though it was a small group, it made that impact on those families. And so we would just invite that opportunity if it were to come about, because we felt it was very powerful.
Well, thank you, Principal Mills. That means a lot to us. I believe, I agree with you completely. I'd also like to give a shout out to Superintendent Hightower, who helped us with interpreting during the meeting. She actually had the little headphones, and the parents had their headphones, and she helped us do Spanish interpretation in Spanish, translating in Spanish. So a big shout out to Superintendent Hightower for helping us with that. So during that meeting, we did go over opioids, vaping, and oils. And so part of our education program will be to prepare similar meetings for what's going on right now, what's actually trending. And substance use includes a lot of substances. So we were surprised when she brought up, when our presenter, Stephanie Sieta, brought up energy drinks. We have energy drinks. She talked about marijuana. It's not your father's marijuana anymore. It's a new kind of marijuana. We talked about opioids. We talked about vaping. We talked about oils. We talked about the different ways that substances are carried about in packaging that looks like normal. The little thing hanging from a student's backpack just looks like a normal USB or a little, a little hanging keychain or something. But it was so interesting, and definitely we are planning to have more of these presentations. We'll have them for the schools, and we also plan to have them in our neighborhoods. If we can find a church or a gym or something, or the district office or one of the schools to have them for the neighborhoods, we're going to have that also. So those are things that we definitely will have again. And also, we definitely want to have a way for pathways to rehabilitation, for interventions and rehabilitation. We're going to try to find ways to actually help people that are having substance use disorder get rehabilitation if they want that, and interventions. So we definitely are here to have a discussion, to communicate, and to put this communication into action, definitely into action, so that people can see that we're really committed to trying to get things done during this program. And I really appreciate your support, all of our program partners' support. Thank you. So I think,
yes, I think we're good.
Pilar.
Yes, I wanted to say I think we are good. I hope we got, we got everybody's questions. If not, feel free, to email us at publicaffairs@tolleson.az.gov. We'll put that in the chat. If you have any questions or comments that you would, want Councilmember Bandin or any of our, guests to follow up on, we can make sure that happens. So whenever you're ready, Councilmember, we can kick it over to Nico for the raffles.
So I just want to repeat that we definitely will follow up on any questions or comments that we received tonight. We're also having another meeting on Thursday at 6 o'clock. It's for another set of neighborhoods, but if anybody or if you'd like to share what went on at the meeting tonight with your neighbors and have them come in on our meeting on Thursday, that will be great. And so I think we can go ahead and start our raffles now. Nico, will you help us with that?
Yes, he'll get us started on the raffles.
Thank you.
So he'll start off with a $50 Amazon gift card.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Now we're moving on. Congratulations. Thank you for all the wonderful resources you sent our way in the chat. Thank you so much. This next raffle will be for a $25 gift card for Tacos Calafia. Yeah, before we go on to the last raffle, if you won, please send us your email and we'll make sure that you get that. Our great team, Mario and Nico, will make sure you get your gift cards. The last, and congratulations, Dr. Hightower. And then the last gift card is to Tacos, where's? Oh. El Camarón Gigante. I had asked Nico, I forgot. It was $25 to El Camarón Gigante. I don't know about everybody, but I always love the music when the wheel comes on. Well, thank you, everyone. Make sure, again, if you won tonight, if you could please just send us over your email in the chat. And once again, if you could email us at that public affairs email as well. If you have any additional comments or questions, we'll make sure to get back with everyone. I don't know if you want to say any final words, Councilmember Bandin, or any of your guests.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Pilar. I just want to say that we truly appreciate everyone's participation tonight. Now we can use this information to prepare the school and neighborhood prevention presentations for the fall. And we're on our way to developing a compassionate, supportive, and respectful substance abuse prevention education and a substance abuse intervention and enforcement program for Tolleson. We'll keep you posted, we'll keep in touch, and please share if you thought this information was very interesting and informative, please share with anyone you know that might want to jump in on our meeting on Thursday. We'd really love to have them. I just want to thank everyone again, and please have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.